Hi, welcome to Chad's Silversmithing. Before we get too far into the video, if you would mind hitting the like button, that really helps out my channel a lot. I really appreciate it. Thank you for that in advance. I also love it if you leave a comment, so let me know what you think. I'm also going to do a question and answer video pretty soon, so if you have any questions you want to ask me, and if I know the answer, I will try and include it in the question and answer video, so leave a question in the comments. I've mostly done project videos lately, and I thought today would be a good day to do a technique sort of video. Periodically, I get low on a particular type of wire and I want to recycle some of my scrap silver into new wire. The disadvantage is it's quite a bit of work, but you do end up with some great usable wire. So I'm going to show you how to go about that. Before we get started, I need to thank some groups of people. I wanted to thank my patrons over on Patreon. They're my core group of supporters, and I really appreciate not only their financial support, but the wonderful community that they've created over there. They have built a forum where they can share ideas and resources, techniques, all that kind of stuff, and it's really nice to see them interacting with each other. I have learned so much from them, and I hope they've learned even a smidge as much as I've learned from them. So thank you all for that. I really appreciate all of your support. The other group is my YouTube subscribers, and we passed 10,000 subscribers, so thank you so much for that. That's awesome. You know, tell your friends, let's get it up to 100,000. I'd love to see that. I do appreciate all of the little financial contributions like the Buy Me a Coffees and the Super Thanks. Those really help with supplies and stuff, so thanks so much for that, as well as just the touching comments that people leave all the time. Thank you for that. That keeps me going. So with that being said, let's get started on this technique. So this is one of my design idea books, and I have a number of different designs. I think there's five different ones up there. I kind of like the pickle time one myself. I haven't ordered one of those for myself yet, but I draw out my stuff in these, and it really helps me to come out with a better end product. So today I'm not going to be drawing, but I just made a list of the things you'll need in order to cast your own ingots and pull them through or put them through the rolling mill and then pull them through a draw plate in order to make some wire. So you will need a crucible, which looks like this. I like the crucible on a little handle like this. I usually grind a little pouring spout so I can get a little more accurate pour when I have the molten metal in there. So you'll see that when I pour this in a little bit. You need an ingot mold. This one's a reversible one. If you watch my other video about casting ingots, this thing flips around and you can do kind of slabs instead of these round linear ingots. These ones are useful for pulling into wire. We'll cast a few of those, and we'll then eventually take them over to the rolling mill. The rolling mill I will show you in a bit. Draw plates. I have a round wire draw plate. It's got a wide side on this. It's got a narrow side on this. Same on this one, but this one's for square wire. I'm not sure why, but the gauges don't line up with the actual sizes of the holes on this one, which is interesting. I'm not sure where I got this one, but so I have to actually measure the gauge of the wire as I pull it through to figure out where we're at. The round one actually does have accurate numbers, so if I go through this hole, it's been reduced to 18 gauge. So one of the things I think is interesting when I see videos online about how to use these draw plates, a lot of times I see people pulling them through from the flat end like this and then out this wide end, and I'm not sure why they do that. For me, when I try to do that, it shaves off a bunch of metal. If you pull it through this way, it compresses it and squishes it down as it pulls it through. So I don't know why they do that. If anybody knows, let me know. I've been curious about that for a long time. When I've tried it, it has not worked very well. So it works great the other way. Draw tongs. Draw tongs are what you grab the wire with to pull it through the draw plates. It's just got kind of a corrugated surface in there to grab onto the wire with. Lubricating wax. I just use the same Eurotool cut lube stuff that I use for my saw. That works just great. You need, in order to melt the silver to cast your ingots, you need a relatively hot torch. The little butane torches that a lot of people use when they're beginners probably just won't have the oomph to do that. Even like a plumber's propane torch may struggle to get it hot enough. I like an acetylene torch. I put a bigger tip on this when I melt stuff. I use a number 3 rather than the number 1 that I normally use. So, and that's really what you need, other than protective gear. You want to wear an apron and eye protection, and I usually wear some leather gloves just so I don't accidentally touch something hot. And the apron is in case you have a splash of metal. One other thing that was suggested to me after I did my ingot video that nobody had ever told me, but if you add a little oil to the ingot mold, you get better casts. And I found that to be true when I tried it last time. So we'll do that with some, I'm going to use some WD-40. First thing we'll do is we'll gather up some scrap, and then we'll go outside and we will cast some ingots. Here's the ingots that I got that are usable. I like the bigger ones that come out of this mold the best. This one was kind of a so-so one. I may be able to get some thin wire out of this. But we'll need to cut this sprue off of that. I'll probably just use a file to file off the little flashing that's on these little ones and any that's on here. And then we can start rolling it through the rolling mill. But before we do that, I need to change the wheels on my rolling mill from the flat wheels to the ones that allow you to size down wire. And so we'll do that first. So let's go do that. So if we're going to roll out some wire, we need to change the wheels on my rolling mill. I have kind of a cheap model I got. It was under $200, but I got it a long time ago. I'm not sure where I got it. It's an Indian model. It was made in India, and if I remember right, it's been a while since I changed the rollers, but I think we got to almost disassemble it to change these out. That's why I don't do it very often. But I already took out the top 4 screws, one here, one here, one here, and one here. I'll move that off. Here's the rollers for rolling wire out. And these things come out the top, but I think I need to take this all the way off, so let me find a screwdriver. Set this over here so I don't misplace that. Now I think we can pull this up. There we go. I think we'll just have to repeat the process on this one, but we'll take this end off. There we go. Put that there. Oh my, this one's broken. That. That's interesting. This would be a great time for Pepe Tools or Durston rolling mills to decide to sponsor me. After I discovered this broken wheel when we took it apart, I looked it up, and I can actually order a new one of these for about 45 bucks from Contenti, which is where I originally got this economy rolling mill. And so I'll probably do that, unless of course Durston or Pepe Tools would like to sponsor me by sending me a free rolling mill and I can proclaim how good their tools are. Just let me know, you guys. Strangely, most of the sprues came right off when I was removing them from the mold. Not sure why that is, but it's okay by me. Now let's file these down a little bit. A lot of people like to make their own wire and sheet in general just because, I don't know, because maybe it's more authentic, not buying pre-made supplies. So that's significantly, it would add a significant amount of time to your process. By the way, just to make sure my rolling mill was still working okay, I pre-rolled a little bit of 20 gauge wire out of a little stumpy piece like this that was actually from the from a slightly skinnier one of the molds. And I'll show you how to turn it. With a piece about slightly shorter than this and thinner than this, I got this piece of 20 gauge wire out of it. So what we'll be doing basically is we'll be reducing the size of these by rolling them through these successively. Successively smaller slots in the rolling mill wheels. And I usually start by having them separated a little bit to get them started, and then gradually increase them until they're close together by running it through again and again until we can't get it any closer together. And then we'll move it to the next one. And in between rolls, we'll be frequently going back and annealing these pieces, because when you're doing this, it's work hardening them really seriously. So that's going to be what we're going to do. If you do too many roll throughs, you'll start cracking your metal because it gets so hard. So is because these are relatively wide, we may need to hammer them a little bit to make them slightly narrower before we are able to feed them through there. So I think let's do that. All right, so I'm going to hold on to it with this. I'm actually in the garage now because my wife's got a headache today and I don't want to be pounding downstairs. So I'm going to try and flatten it out in this dimension and then flip it over and flatten it out in that dimension a little bit. You can see we've kind of stretched it out and thinned it out and made it kind of square. So I'm going to do that for all the rest of these, except for maybe the skinny one. I think I'm going to see if I can get that one to go through without having to do much of that. So we'll see. But you probably don't have to watch me do all of these, so I'm going to do the rest of them off camera. One thing to note, if I had a more expensive rolling mill that had a better gear ratio, I probably would have been able to roll these right through. But since I'm using kind of a $200 model, if you disengage, if you pull it too far, the wheels too far apart, the gears disengage and then become, so the gears are just barely meeting inside, and if you're not careful you can break the gears in there because the tips will break off. So I'd rather flatten it out by hand and then run it through afterwards. But the other thing we'll have to do is, by pounding on this so much, I've work hardened this super hard, so we're going to have to anneal it right away, and then we'll try it again on the rolling mill. I got these two pretty good, this one okay. This one I sort of mangled, but we'll see if we can make something out of it. My forging skills leave something to be desired, probably. Alright, so let's anneal these so they're soft again, because I work hardened them really, really badly by pounding so much on those. Annealing is taking them up to the temperature where they're almost that kind of reddish color. And then we'll let them cool off, and that takes that work hardening out. So we'll let those cool off for a bit, and then we'll give it another try. Okay, we're back. So let's see if we can fit these through the rolling mill now. They've got more of a kind of a diamond shape, which is good because this has kind of a diamond shape. We'll just keep gradually tightening this down and roll it through in both dimensions. One of these was significantly wider than the other because of my inconsistent hammering. Like I said, if you had quality rolling mill, you could do this in shorter stages. You'll be able to do tighter presses on it with fewer annealings between them if you have a nicer rolling mill, because it'll stand up to more pressure than mine will without hurting the gears. So as you can see, this is kind of a time-consuming process. But if you're into doing things all the way from scratch, it can be sort of satisfying. I remember the first time I found a cool rock, cut the rock, and made a piece of jewelry out of it. That was kind of a cool first for me. It's getting a bit too curved there. I'm going to do it once or twice more, and then we'll go anneal it again. If you start to see cracks, you've gone too far, probably. As it work hardens, it gets more brittle. So, all right, I'm going to go anneal this, then we'll do it some more. So let's roll it a little bit further now. Periodically, if it starts to get too curved, I'll flatten it back out on my bench block with my plastic hammer. So I'm going to go back and anneal it again. I'm not going to keep making you watch me anneal it, since it's going to take a number of repetitions of that, so I'll be back in a minute. All right, I've gotten it to where these two wheels touch, so now it's time to move over to this one. I had to back it open a little bit. I think I'm going to make this 14 gauge square wire. So when we start to get a little bit closer to the gauge, I'm going to bring the draw plate over here, and we can look at where we want to start pulling it through. So, but it's nice if you can do most of it with the rolling mill, because it's easier. So we're somewhere in the range of about, this is where 10 gauge is, and like I said, this one doesn't line up with the actual gauges. 14's about right there, and maybe when it starts to be able to fit through here, then I'll start pulling it through the draw plate to shape it the rest of the way to 14. So need to get it down to about that size. I think it's sort of fun when you start to see how much longer it becomes as you roll it through. But I'm easily amused, apparently. Off camera, after I annealed it, I went in and I filed this down to a taper a little bit so it would get through these holes. Now the one I'm going to pull through is probably too big, but I could barely get it in there, so just to get started we'll do that one. Another way to get these ends smaller is you can just keep rolling just the end through the rolling mill until it's a little bit thinner at the end. Then you can feed it through there, so you can grab it with the draw tongs. Before we do this, I usually rub a little bit of this wax onto the wire. Since I'm pulling by hand, helps a little bit to have it a little slicker. Okay, hopefully I don't knock the camera off here. So and pull it through. Then the next one down, that's 21, this is 22, so we're going to put it through that one. Let's put a little wax in the starter hole. And I'm going to re-lube this just a little bit. It's going to get gradually harder to pull through here. I'm going to file the end down just a little bit more. The reason I didn't squish the end with the rolling mill to make it fit through here is because my rolling mill handle doesn't turn very well when these are hooked up. So, what are you going to do? Let's put it through this one. Okay, so that should be 14 gauge square. So I'm going to anneal that, and I'll make something for the thumbnail. So, all right, so you can see it's quite a bit of work. All right, so this is, I just measured it, it's 30 inches. And so it started at this length. Okay, so about 3 inches, which equates to 75 millimeters or so, up to 30 inches. So that got me quite a bit of usable wire. So I'm pleased, and I'm going to make a little something for the thumbnail now. So I thought I'd make a little double ring, one with twisted square and one with just a piece of square straight, and interlock them, and then we'll solder them together. This is not my normal type of video, so I didn't do my normal intro thing. But if you've never seen pick soldering, I have a video. I'll put a link up there for you. It's a really useful skill. It makes putting a little bit of solder someplace much easier. Alright, I'll clean that up and I'll show you a little glimpse of it at the end. Alright, well that was the rolling out your own and pulling your own wire. I hope you enjoyed that and found it useful. If you did, make sure to hit the like button before you leave. And also, check out some of the other videos that I have. I'm approaching 300 videos now, and so there's a huge quantity of content here for you to peruse. The playlist page is a great way to do that, so check out some other videos, and then subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I'd love to have you as a subscriber. The other thing is, check out the video description down below. There's some important links that are relevant to me if you want to become more of a supporter of the channel. There's that Buy Me a Coffee link if you want to help out with some supplies. There's my merch page, which I have all sorts of new merch on there, including some of those design idea books that have recently been put up. I find those super useful. There's a link to my website, which you should definitely check out. There's lots of pretty jewelry there for sale that I've made, and you deserve some. And finally, there's a link to my Patreon page, so if you want to find out more about that and how you can become a member over there, follow that link and check it out. All right, thank you for watching. Take care. Happy silversmithing.